Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and it's time once more for the weekly painting progress. Sadly, this week, we finally had the trigger pulled at work. We are no longer allowed to come in. We are all under quarantine, which has its pluses and minuses. Plus side, I finally can hit that backlog of models. It's been sitting here. Minus side, everything else that goes along with it. So yeah, we're just going to roll with it, and I think painting models is the easiest and best way at the moment to deal with it. So we're going to start things off, if I can get her in focus, and the lighting does not want to do her any help here. This is the novice model from Kingdom Death. This is part of their generic class range, which consists of a Kingdom Death interpretation of traditional classes that we would see in tabletop RPGs. So she's the level 1 plucky adventurer that's just starting out, and obviously you can see she is not the lean, mean fighting machine that most of the other Kingdom Death models are or become, which is kind of cool, actually, if you think about it. And I've said it many, many times, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep, hopefully we'll go all Inception style. I would love to see a complementary model to the novice. I would love to see the expert or the veteran, and it's the same character, but just all grizzled up, maybe missing a limb or two since it's Kingdom Death, and just all decked out with fantastic and fabulous gear as she's lived a life of danger and adventure. So this is a cool little model. Very basic, very simple, and like I said, if you've ever not watched the video that I already put up of her, which is totally available down there if you want to go dig through all the playlists, she was the first resin model that was cast in-house with the Kingdom Death team. Prior to her, everybody that was actually resin and not the photo resin stuff like from the 3D printers, like our murderers here, who I totally forgot to go prime, they're all done obviously on a 3D printer, whereas she was actually spin cast. I believe they do spin cast resin. It's resin casted in-house with Kingdom Death. So she got done. And let's see what else we have awaiting us. So I went on a bit of a Conquest binge this week. We got the hold, oh gosh, what's his name? I don't remember. The Dwarf King dude. I had him in front of me all week without his cape glued on, and he looks so derpy and ridiculous because there's nothing on his backside, and it just looks silly. But once his cape was attached, the presence became much more regal and appropriate. I really dig the model, and I feel like I'm going to go teal, this tealish turquoise, for a lot of my Dweghom, which are the dwarven faction basically for Conquest from Parabellum, but he's one of their leader dudes. And we got another one of their leader dudes finished. That would be the Ardent, if I can find where I put him. Where'd you go? Stuck him off to the side here. So the Ardent, who I believe I just posted the other day prior to filming this. I actually painted him a while ago. He's just been sitting here waiting to get finished up. This is one of those models I start, and then it sits there and nothing happens. And yeah, it took me a while to realize that there's like a little face there on his sword. Kind of sad. He's a nice model. He doesn't strike me as a dwarf. He reminds me of a hunched over old dude. But when you compare him size-wise, they're not that much different, and their heads are about level with each other. So maybe it's just the fact that he's overburdened with his crazy get up, and he's a lean, mean fighting machine and not bothering to wear much armor. So that is the Ardent. And not to be outdone, they've got some friends. So I went ahead and painted some more of the Dweghom, the dwarven dudes. And I got, I believe, one of every basic model for their faction so far. I've got one of the Hold Warriors. These are their generic rough and tough sword and board close combat fighters, and this is actually part of a dual kit. Got a review of that too. I think I posted it. Maybe I posted it. You can also make crossbowmen out of them. So they use the same shield. They lose the shoulder pads, and they gain the crossbows, and then they have a hand to hold the shield up in front of them as well. The heads basically are completely compatible with each other. Sadly, they don't work with any of the other Dweghom models released so far. The other models I speak of are the Flame Berserkers. Now, these dudes, as they go into their descent, which is like their religious pilgrimage down into the depths of the world, and they come back with all kinds of cybernetic parts and missing limbs or whatever. So I figured I was really going to go for that weird body horror, not body horror, but otherworldliness. So I really wanted to accent that because I figured they might be fun to throw into other games as well. Whereas I painted all the regular Dweghom with a normal skin tone, I went with a really grayish color for these guys. I also painted up the unit leader, who is absolutely ridiculous. And yes, their heads are on fire, and so is his blade. And his blade is gigantic. And he's got this crazy pincer claw, too. I really dig this guy, and I didn't realize at the time, but it's actually the same body. I just painted them very different. Not that anybody ever matches in any of my armies. So you can see here, just as I said with the size, they all pretty much are comparable to each other. We're not at the point in the line's history where everybody's like various heights, like some of the GW stuff, or even privateers where you have models, the same models almost, that are various heights. So, not to be outdone, yeah, I painted a lot of Dweghom, and I actually have more that are like about 90% finished that I just didn't get done yet. The weather wasn't helping. We went ahead and finished, as I knock over the camera, a couple of the Spire's heroes. This is the Mimetic Assassin right here, and the Assault Preceptor, which we'll get to. He's got a cool little custom base where he's leaping off the dead body of a regular drone. If you've ever heard me ramble on about models, I love the fact that he's got the extra limbs. He's got the little scabbards for his blades there. I have absolutely no clue what the rules are like. I probably should dig out the book and take a look. And then we have the Assault Preceptor again with way more limbs than would be necessary. Funny thing is I tried to paint them up like my Ossiarch Bone Reapers. But at this point they don't really match at all. So I don't know. I find the studio jobs, while they're done really nicely on the Spire models, on the box art and on the website, they're just kind of plain. There's not a lot of detail, so I just threw a little bit of color in there to kind of mix things up a bit. So that is the Assault Preceptor and the Mimetic Assassin. Just to give you a good sense of scale here. But besides them, nope, we're still not done with the Conquest stuff. I went ahead and painted a couple of the Nord Raiders, and the Nords are kind of the Viking-like dudes. And they're a bit of a mix and match type kit. And for the longest time, I sat on these guys for a while trying to figure out how in the world I was going to paint them. Eventually, I just figured I'm going to throw as many browns and grays and reds at them until things are done. And whatever doesn't get hit by those is getting hit with some kind of a metallic color. They're all wearing fur on top of that. He's got these weird stone things. And I think there's a couple more still. There are. I like that guy. I thought he came out decent. He was the first one I did, and his clothing doesn't match up any of the other ones at all. So if you're interested, I mean, honestly, I think the Conquest stuff is quite nice, especially if you can get it at a discount, because why pay full price? But they keep churning out interesting and quite different models that nobody else is really doing. Not at their scale, certainly, and not in plastic. So outside of the hero models, everything's plastic, which is pretty cool. So besides all that, because we still haven't painted enough yet this week, we finished up the Corpse Grinders. So I kept a very basic, simple scheme that doesn't want to go in focus. There we go. And his eyes are supposed to be painted, but you can't really tell. So I did kind of like what I did with my iron golems, if my iron golems ever get done, is start with a bronze base and then go over it with a contrast paint. So it gets that shininess, metallic-y color, but then it keeps the red very distinct. Whoa. Dude with the chainsaw, power cutter, I don't know what they are. We've got the basic initiate guys. And again, it doesn't help that I had to paint every single person completely differently than the rest. Nobody matches at all. Not even the colors of their pants. It looks similar, but there's like a lot of grays and blacks that were actually used to paint them. And then the last couple butchers. I don't know where I put the first one I painted. Where did he go? I don't even know. Huh. I love that armor. I think if I wanted to have a lot of fun, what I would do is I would get that technical blood splatter paint and just flick it all over them and just have splatters of blood everywhere. And finally, we have this guy who I believe is supposed to be carrying the cult icon, which are basically all of these skulls attached to his back there. He's got a lot of skulls on him. I really like the Corpse Grinder cult, and I honestly, if they're a cult that is, I would really like to see them get some models expanded upon somewhere further down the line. Obviously, we need to get all the rest of the major main gangs first. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff painted. Probably would help if I just put them all on screen. So this is just with 1 week and 1 day of finding out that we were on quarantine and that we were going to be stuck at home. But in all honesty, a lot of this stuff was also quite close to being finished. And what better thing to do than to finally pull the plug. So hopefully everybody out there, you are staying safe, you are staying clean, and you are staying mindful of all around you. And hopefully you're also working on those backlogs too. So with that said, this is probably going to be the one of quite a few weekly painting progresses where you just see an absolute pile of painted stuff. And this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and hopefully you guys are getting painting too. Stay safe out there, people. Bye-bye.